How does the Washington Group approach to measuring disability relate to the social model?
The social model views disability as the interaction between the environment and an individual's functioning. It is different from the medical model because disability is not a personal characteristic, defined by health conditions or impairments, but it occurs in unaccommodating environments. It includes, but is not limited to, people who have a disability certification.
For example, Leila and Anita both cannot hear. Leila lives in a country where public transportation systems provide information on large screens that are easy to read. Television programs are captioned. And she has access to a sign language interpreter whenever she needs one. On the other hand, Anita lives in an environment where none of this is available. Of the two, Leila does not encounter barriers to participation because her environment is supportive. But Anita's unsupportive environment limits her participation.
Disability is a very complex concept. It is not possible to create one question or a small set of questions that would collect the information on the entire concept of disability, as understood in the social model. Instead, to get useful data, we need to capture different components of this model with different questions. The approach taken by the Washington Group to identify the population with disabilities is referred to as the functional approach. It focuses on one important aspect of the social model: do people have functional difficulties, which put them at risk of not participating because of barriers in the environment. If asked simply, do you have a disability? Individuals with the same functional characteristics might answer differently, perhaps due to their understanding of the question or stigma associated with the word disability. But the Washington Group questions are worded in a way to allow people to provide more accurate and comparable responses. They ask about difficulties when doing basic activities and not about health conditions or impairments. They also do not use the word disability.
Collecting data on participation and the environment is also needed to analyze data using the social model, but it must be collected using different questions, in addition to the Washington Group questions. And when the data are analyzed together, they give a fuller picture of disability in a society. For example, if we compare the employment rates of those with and without difficulty seeing and find that those with difficulty have lower employment rates, we conclude that barriers to employment exist for people with difficulties seeing.
Questions on barriers and facilitators of full participation provide information needed to address limitations in inclusion. For example, the Labor Force Survey Disability Module, developed jointly by the Washington Group and International Labor Organization, focuses on the workplace accommodations and the reasons why people are not employed. Another example is the World Health Organization's Rapid Assistive Technology Assessment, RADA, which asks about types of support needed by people with disabilities. Also, administrative systems such as the Education Management Information System used in Fiji not only identifies children with disabilities using the Child Functioning Module, developed by UNICEF and the Washington Group, but also provides information on the inclusivity of the school, in terms of physical infrastructure, materials, human resources, and communication. To obtain a more complete understanding of disability, data should also be collected on the cause of functional difficulties, the age at which difficulties began, access to services and need for services, and the broad range of environmental characteristics related to full participation about the population with disabilities identified by the Washington Group questions.
What is important to remember is that the same, common core set of disability questions should be included in all data collections, whether censuses, surveys, or administrative systems, in order to make it possible to crosswalk or compare data across collection systems. This information, along with more comprehensive information that can be obtained in some data collections, will provide a more complete picture of the population with disabilities, their characteristics, including access to and use of services, program outcomes, and ultimately the impact of policy and programs to promote their full inclusion.
For more information on the Washington Group on Disability Statistics, visit the website at washingtongroup-disability.com.